Greetings and welcome. I'm Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. I'm guided by Spirit and remain humble in the presence of Spirit. Trigger warning: the subject matters of a mature nature and deals with true crime events or political events. Disclaimer: all cases are treated as alleged until proven in the court of law. So I'm releasing election results episode as a video on the channel. I kept on telling everyone since the elections I'll do a podcast, I'll include it in the podcast. But now I'm getting emails. So let's have a look from the perspective now that as it stands, Trump has taken the elections. And of course, Kamala has relinquished that possible title. So this is the original chart I spoke about when we previewed November the 5th. Now, of course, this is when the elections go down, or take place rather, beg your pardon. And certainly we measured, for example, and I'm just giving a background if you didn't watch the review, which was this episode here. I'll give you a visual cue, which was the episode US Votes November 5th Forecast, and we also previewed the previous elections. And what we noticed, or what I noticed, was there's very similar situation in the year that Trump won. And we see here that there's a 4 outcome in 2016, which pings on him. But now we have an outcome with a feminine outcome. So, of course, something has changed or something had happened. So let's nitpick this. I'm going to first look at the 4 dates. In other words, the day of the elections, the 369. And I received some emails. I should include Russia as well as Elon Musk and see how that plays out in the original date, which is the November the 5th. And then what I've also included is now November the 6th, when technically during this row of numbers here, when it was really, we could see by midnight that it was already going Trump's way. But the declarations and all that kind of thing started happening in this zone here, November the 6th. So let's just see what is going on. So, of course, now we know what the outcome is, and the objective here is to see, was there any underhandedness, or let's be quite frank, fraud in this case. So I think what I'm going to do is to outline numbers. I'm just going to, let's do this. So already on the day of the elections, beg your pardon for that crash zoom, on the day of the elections, the day starts with a +5. So that is already, in my opinion, a warning bell. You don't want to start the day on a negative foot. And in this case, 5 indicates fraud. Now, also being a non-local, looking from the outside in, of course, there's some things I need to understand about the American elections. And of course, people have been voting way before November the 5th in an effort to get their votes in, of course. And then on the day, any votes that were mailed in can only be counted then. So already we have a 5 in play, which is problematic, which means in the +9, there's a 14-5. So that does bring in elements of fraud. And if I would, like I mentioned in the previous episode, if the 14-5 was sitting here, then we can say there's direct fraud implications. But what's interesting is that these elements 5 and 14-5 are happening, let's say, off peak times. In other words, behind the scenes, in the dark, in the shadows. And we've already mentioned in the previous episode, we've got an 11 verse 11 issue here. And at that time, I mentioned, is this because Trump has standing legal issues and still has to face more standing legal issues as far as I understand. And immediately now there's talk about obviously dropping all these charges against him, right? So we've already got two anomalies, the fives, we can count them as one, and then we've got the 11 verse 11 too. So on this day, it's reflecting that there's a law issue. There is a law issue, whether it pertains to Trump himself or there is let's call it a general legal issue. Or we can call it a general legal issue with the election. So there is hints of issues. The other anomalies, of course, we have these eights here. So that speaks about technology, communication. I was watching intently to see if there were any anomalies with regards to network scanning, and I believe there were some issues in some areas that when people arrived, as mentioned in South Africa, we have to scan in with the IDs or passport, however your legal documents work. And some of those machines were given issues for quite a while by the sounds of it, actually. So this is pointing out, first of all, anomalies of the day. And of course, we can argue that having these kind of anomalies around is not a perfect day by any means. Okay? So if we look at the 2020 elections, we see the 14-5 in the middle of the day here. Okay? Now, there's obviously a lot of debate whether the 2020 elections were stolen from Trump, or now the 22-4 election, beg your pardon, and now the 2024 elections technically were stolen from Kamala, or we can say Democratic Party. Now, looking at this with an eagle eye, we see this 19-10-1 in the middle, and I'm going to raise it as a flag because this does bring two elements. One, there's a transactional element in play. And what is that transactional element? And I kept on getting a sense, and of course, if you're watching and you're American, you know your politics better than I do. But the sense I was getting post the announcement was there a deal in place for the Republicans to win because of what transpired in 2020? That's just the feeling I got. Because what I'm hearing and seeing on news feeds and comments is, had the Republicans lost this election, there would have been a bloodbath. There would have been civil war possibly. So why is this transactional element more relevant than we think? Because if we look at this as let's say as a crime scene, for example, 19-10-1 in play is always a problem. We've got out of sync eights, so there is problems here. There definitely are problems here. And now if we look at this 19-10-1 from an internet networking spy, remember spy elements? I mean, people could be looking at us and we don't even know, right? So now we're looking at 16-7. That can bring around elements of spying, 16-7 spying. And I mentioned this before in the +9, that there's a conflict of interest between people in authority. I want to point out some other numbers here. 16-7, we got all of these eights. And of course, we know about the outcome should have been a feminine outcome. Now, when we go into I'm just going to go to the next day. So this is +1 on the November 5, and we have the 369 here, okay? We've got some interesting and alarming numbers that are lining up with Russia, for example. have a look here. 17:8. So now the day that, so during, let's say from midnight till before sunrise, the results come out here in this line here. But look what happens immediately. So in other words, what I'm getting to is this. Beg your pardon, should be here. So if we say by sunrise in real time, we know then effectively the Republicans have won the race, right? But now who benefits from this? Because this is interesting. Now that it's been raised, I got messages and emails. Look at this here. 17:8, 17:8. I beg your pardon, 17:8 and 8. And I'm doing this real time, so bear with me, please, because I was going to do this for Sunday, Sunday's podcast, but there's been too many comments. And of course, I don't know, is there, you can just help us in the comments if you're American. Is there like an appeal process that can happen? So why does this bother me? This is a conflict here. So let me just remind you. When we go into the actual day, let's say the last day of voting, we have this 11-11 conflict, which is a legal conflict. Legal. That's not someone taking a box of votes and throwing them in the bin somewhere or burning them like there has been, right? It's a legal issue. So why have we got a 17:8 issue here as well? You'll recall on the +3 of the day, we've got all of these 8s out of sequence, right? Russia is an 8 life path. Putin himself has, look at this here, 17:8, 17:8. This is not coincidence. Or let's put it this way. Why would Russia benefit if Donald Trump comes in? Look there, it's a match. It's effectively a direct match. So why would there be a direct match here? Look at the outcome of November the 6th, 16:7. The spy who loved us. 16:7, 16:7. Elon Musk, 16:7. The most direct evidence in terms of Putin is the 17:8:8. Because I was wondering, and even, I was watching through JLR and his partner, why, for example, and I did get a copy of, I was watching this real time, why, for example, did Nevada take so long to start publishing their results? Wouldn't that be constituted as problematic? So why did Nevada take so long? I mean, it was past midnight, and I stand to be corrected. I wasn't timing it minute for minute. But as far as I could see, the votes, the percentages only started moving after midnight, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, there were a lot of other states that were in the process of, but not even, Nevada hadn't even been started. I think Alaska at by midnight hadn't even been started. So what was causing those delays? We can argue, yes, there were going to be some issues, 5 getting the day started. But why were those particular states being delayed? So now if we in the November the 6th here, pinging on Elon and pinging on Russia, what is going on here? See there? And I will call it out. I mean, I have no affiliation with anyone that's been discussed here at all. So there we've got exact match, Putin match. It's actually quite scary, actually. Now, when we look at, so we say, and I'm just going to remind you when we go into these blocks, remember the +3, we had a 1910 one on November the 5th. So here we go again. So technically these are Trump's numbers here, 20, 11, 2. But the 9 is problematic for me. And then why do we have all of these transactional numbers here? And these are not only transactional numbers. We can also say these are internet numbers. Now, remember, and I'm just going to keep reminding you because it's very important, of course. You'll recall in 2020, when I said the 14-5 in the middle of the day for me is more problematic than the 5 in the start of the day. But now we're looking back and say, well, these guys were meddling between midnight and 6 a.m., one could say. Okay? But I'm pointing out 2020, we had the 14-5 in the middle. So look what's happened here in November the 6th when the results start coming out. We have a 14-5 in play, ladies and gentlemen. That 14-5 is not hidden anymore. It is now in the open. But now we have a 14-5 in the middle of an election year. So there is a problem here, in my opinion. Now, the outcome in the +6, so we're looking at the +6 at the moment. This is what actually goes down, okay, on the day. So this is now we're looking at, as the election night goes into the following day, on November the 6th. The outcome 31-4, 22-4, 13-4. So yeah, we see 31-4, 22-4 with Trump's numbers. But why does it also match here? The Federal Security Services, in other words, the old school KGB, 31-4 has the same matches here. So far, and I mean, you can see, we can say possibly there are too many similar numbers happening here. And when you have a direct match like this with Mr. VP here, who, by the way, I only congratulated him yesterday, which would have been November the 7th. I'm recording this November the 8th, 9 a.m., just gone past 9 a.m. So, +9, all is revealed. The 15-6, this 15-6 is bothering me. And I've tried to see who it belongs to. 15-6. There's a hidden problem here, unfortunately, in my opinion. There's a 15-6. Now we can argue, so if we go back to the +9 year, so 14-5, 15-6 on one level speaks about a forgery. A forgery. Not meant to be pink. It does remind me of Kate. So 15-6 can speak about a forgery. And when we see in the reveal, we still, of course, have the 17-8, which pings on, it doesn't ping on anyone but Vladimir Putin. And let's just confirm. So if we look for a 17-8 here, 17-8, there's only one match here for 17-8. And if you know your politics, you can call it Russia, you can call it the Federal Security Service, but nothing gets approved before Putin sticks his nose in it. Look at Putin, 34-7, 16-7, 34-7 all year. You see the reveal in the +9. So on the day, November the 6th, we have a 25-7. When we get to the all is revealed, now we've seen those bigger numbers. And the bigger the numbers get, your pool of potential suspects decreases. So VP also has a 34-7. And, it's not that I was ignoring the comments. I was planning to do it on Sunday, but then I got some more and some emails. And you start looking at this and you're thinking, what did actually go down here? And the 16-7 pings on Putin and Elon Musk. There was, and I don't want to create speculation, but the matches are saying something. He also has a 34-7. There was rumors going into the final day of elections that Musk had been speaking to VP. So let's just see it. Oh, look here, ladies and gentlemen, hidden in the +9. So we see the 17-8, 17-8 match, direct match, hidden 26-8. 26-8, Russia. So something unfortunately is amiss. Something is definitely amiss here. I'm just trying to see any, oh, looky here, if there's any other matches. So we say Trump is an 11-2, and if I recall, so he has the sequence here. Look there, 20, outcome 2, 11-2, which is present here. But also look here. So if we go hidden 20, your year that you're born in is very powerful number, influential number. And we have a 20, hidden 22 as well. So I will just do a recap now, okay, to say, without a doubt, in my mind, yes, there's a lot of similarities with people. Like I said, Trump has the 20, outcome 2. But there's no answer for this direct match. 17-8-8. That, for me, is like the thumbprint being left at the crime scene. There is, and I'm just checking to make 100% sure, but there is no 17-8 at all in any of these candidates' numbers or their parties. And I keep getting reminded, remember when the assassination went down? I kept on saying, who is the 17-8? Always present. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves I believe, in my opinion, a situation. So let's just say I did this as an episode, November the 6th, +3, +6, +9. But then we decide, hold on, maybe we should check the day before, because that's when the official last day of voting, right? Without even the previous slide, why do we have this here then? What law has been broken? And what deal was made? 1910 is transactional. The people behind doors, are they saying, let's give it to the Republicans this year? Because had they not won, I mean, even there was another practitioner who was saying, if Camilla comes in, there's going to be havoc. So let's look on the actual last day now, November, of the voting technically, although the results came out in the 6th, right? So on the actual day of voting, let's see what we pick up. And I'm just going to use arrows if you don't mind. So 16.7 again pings on Putin, as well as pings on Musk. One could argue the position of the number 16.7 says they're in the middle. You can take it literally, in the middle. 24.6, we're going to spot all the numbers now, right? 24.6 is the foundation number of the Republic of, well, let's not call them the Republic, the old KGB, 24.6 as well. And they've got a 7. Wow, everyone was monitoring this. 16.7, by the way, in Cloak and Dagger, Putin's wars scenario, Cold War scenario, is surveillance. Surveillance. All these 3 8s speak to Putin as well. It speaks to Putin, but it also speaks to there's been an interference. And how did that interference come around? Through the interweb. There's it there. Of course, the 16.7s again point to the usual suspects it's becoming. There's a 14.5. So was something going on overnight? So in other words, from November the 4th into November the 5th, I beg your pardon, that things were going on at midnight, 0:30 dark, right? So a deal was made here. I almost want to use the word concession. And that's why I put an asterisk here. You know, I mentioned in the previous episode there were some psychics, and not even psychics, someone I personally knew that predicted this race here and got it wrong. And that person, by all accounts, is very accurate. So when you get into these elections, there's other things going on in the background here. But in my opinion, here's a 24.6 here as well, with Russia directly. Good God. I mean, Russia itself is a life path 8. We've got all of these 8s in play all the time. Now, let's just say for argument's sake, yes, all countries are monitoring. But 16.7 is quite a strong number, surveillance. 19.10.1 in any situation is a problem. We got the bungled 8s. And one thing will always stand out, and that's the 11 verse 11 problem. That for me is where the biggest issue lies, which is the first where we see that there is actually an issue. I mean, Musk has double 16.7. Oh, look here. Like I say, I was planning this for Sunday, so some of the stuff is a bit raw as I see it. Beg your pardon, let's... So what do we have here? 89. So if you want to look at it on one hand, these are all internet numbers, right? And they're all pinging on Elon. So if we have to go, and I just did the test now, a +9 on 16.7, right, is 25.7. So in my opinion, and this is the first time I'm looking at it, there are too many matches here. Too many matches, unfortunately. So is there a recourse for the Democrats to lodge a appeal, or is because she's now conceded, does that mean it's over? But there's certainly an anomaly here, unfortunately. Will there ever in our lifetime be a free and fair process? Ever? In all countries? So look here as well. If you're still watching, thank you very much. Look here, here's another one. 26.8. In line with Putin himself. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe I need to continue with this, in that there was definitely manipulation going on. There's been a deal also made in the background, I believe. Here's the deal, yeah. There's a law, there's laws have been broken. So I would say, based on this, on the 5th, the day before, there was electronic activity happening already. November the 4th, there would have been activity. And the reason why I say that is because then it creates this dilemma. The day before has created this dilemma. There's problems here. And unfortunately, when you have so many matches, like the old saying goes, there's no coinkydink. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in interesting times. Please leave your comments and thoughts. If you feel I need to go into something else and have a look, then please let me know. And once again, thank you for all the community members reaching out. It was overwhelming. And I had something planned for this morning. Let's do this show and get it out. And we will keep an eye on what's going on. And thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay alert. Bye for now.